Welcome to the Early Night Show with Anway Pramanik.
Hello and welcome to another episode with me, your host, Anway Pramanik, with the Early Night Show. Today I've left the windows of my studio open. I just wanted to get the ambient noises of the night, feel it, embody it. Hopefully, if it picks up in my podcast, all the more better. If you are in your room right now and you notice that there's a good environmental ambience outside your window, then I definitely recommend you pull back the windows. Indulge yourself in that sound if you can. The night has a different personality. It's a different side of life, of existence. Anyways, today I'm going to try to do a little anecdotal based. Without confusing you, I want to use something that really strongly connected with me quite some time back in my life. But it's something that today I very strongly felt. I embodied it for the first time. I embodied the negative side of the positive that I'd learned or encountered 3 years ago, which I wanted to embody. Anyways. The first thing is that what it is I saw 3-4 years ago. I don't know if you've watched this show called Vikings, featuring the story of Ragnar Lothbrok and his lineage and their stories, their violent stories in history. Now, personally speaking, everything after the death of Ragnar Lothbrok in the show, absolutely horrendous. It became a typical Avengers movie kind of a thing, Lost its philosophical depth. And I think it also had a lot to do with the actor. I think his name is Travis Fimmel. I don't want to be wrong, I'll get this right. It's the same guy who played Anduin Lothar in the Warcraft movie. Let me just confirm. Yep, Travis Fimmel. Now, Travis is known to be a slightly eccentric personality. Quite like Heath Ledger, in the sense that they don't really cry for mainstream love. But it just so happens that they're really good at managing this mainstream love. Love from the mainstream. So I believe that after Travis's character died and after I think Travis stopped being around in the show, I think the show just lost its class. Anyways, now coming to that one moment from Vikings which really struck with me was the leadership personality trait that Ragnar showed. I still remember one of the, I think season 2, when Ragnar finally um, Ragnar and his band, they finally reach the English shores, Northumbria or Wessex, I forgot where it was. The Saxon shores, let me correct myself, or the English shores. That's how bad my history is. Anyways, so Ragnar and his gang reach there, and one of the first things that happens is the local militia from the church or the local town, the township nearby, they come, and obviously a lack of language for them to connect upon. So I still remember the scene very clearly. They're on the beach. Ragnar's crew is on the side, and the English soldiers are on the right. I don't think they were known as English back then. They were their own independent states in England or pre-England England. And one of the first thing that happens is there's a character called Floki, who you could call the witch doctor of the village, not the Skjald, what are they known as? The lore masters, I forgot what they're called. Skjalds? I forgot. So Floki is, very in tune with the Nordic gods and the visions of the Nordic gods, and believing that he is blessed by them and his people. He's like a Nordic fascist, a religious Nordic fascist. Now in this scene, I remember, that it's a very tense scene. Ragnar is trying to, communicate with the soldiers, let them know they're here for peace, they're not here to fight. Even the English or the pre-English soldiers are, tense. They're looking around. They don't know what to do. And suddenly Floki walks up to them. He's very eccentric a character, and he's very mindfucked by the cross these guys are wearing, the Jesuit crosses. So he pulls them out, and then these guys get so scared that they start attacking him. The English soldiers, the pre-English soldiers. And then, that's the first conflict, or at least that's how they show in the show that the conflict started. Pretty cool how they depicted this. And you can see, Ragnar, not yet a leader of his tribe, not yet the king, he realizes that, fuck, Floki fucked up. Excuse me. And even much later, there's a part where they're invited to the English king's throne room. This is, I think, when Ragnar is established as king. Yeah, he's established as king. And what happens is they're all in the king's throne, the English king's or the Wessexian king's throne room. And they're having a to and fro, and Ragnar's trying to keep things very polite. Floki speaks out of turn. Ragnar's then divorced wife speaks out of turn. His brother speaks out of turn. And throughout this entire time, you can see that Ragnar is very irritated by their actions, but he never reacts to it, he never reprimands them, and he never controls how these people should act and behave. He only minds his own business, even though as a king he's responsible for how his subjects are. And what I really liked about that scene is that I've met a lot of people in my life, managers and leaders and bosses, who don't guide the growth of their people or guide the actions of their people, but rather try to control it. I'm pretty sure if any of you who's listening to this podcast right now, you've had that situation with a very shitty boss or a shitty manager, it's ideally because this is an individual who does not guide you at work, if at all, but is rather more controlling. Quite simply put, instead of giving you the process or giving you the systems or the tools to help you get better, they always criticize you and try to make you change to meet the way they would like you to be. If that's the simplest way I could put it, like they will ask you to, on a very basic level, they will ask you to, cut your hair, wear a shirt, pull a tie, hide your tattoos. That's the first step. Then once they get rid of your physical identity or individuality, they will try to control the way you work, the way you do things, the way you interact or go about doing your day to day under their presence or in their projects. And I'm pretty sure you've experienced someone like this in your life. Could be your mom, could be a teacher, could be your dad, could be a girlfriend, a boyfriend, a boss. But you've had someone in your life who, instead of guiding your growth, try to control it. And just today, I was having a conversation with one of my peers at my organization. And if you've worked with me, you will notice that I'm slightly particular about the things that I do, slightly particular about the way that I like to present my things, or at least make it easy for the other person. I have a slightly particular format. And I realized that when I'm working with someone new, when they find it difficult to work on my format or take my orders or implement my orders in double quotes again, I get very annoyed. When they act out of turn or do something that is not the way I would want them to do it, I get very annoyed. And that's quite the opposite of how I was really impressed by Ragnar Lothbrok with his team building and the way he's unreactive, doesn't control his people. Even though I had the insight, but not the intent or motivation or the processes to act like that. So today, when I was writing this person in my organization a little hard, being a little difficult with them when it came to work, they quite openly laid it out to me how much of an effort they are making trying to please me, if I have to put it in that term. I don't want to sound like a piece of shit. I'm just trying to put it like that. And that's when I realized that I'm setting a system where people are not working to improve or become better or do better, but a system where people do the things in the way that I want them to do, otherwise they're not going to get approval from me. And I realized the toxicity of that situation, of how I was trying to do that. And I realized that if I'm someone who's expediting a process, if I'm being Ragnar Lothbrok, and if I want people to do things in a certain way, either because I believe that's the right way, or I believe it's the most efficient way, or from expertise I believe it's the most cost effective way, or a template, or it's a process which others can adapt and use to build their own way, whatever. So I realized that instead of me trying to control their growth, I have to guide it. I have to enable them with the tools and processes which will allow them to work on the same level that I'm expecting them to. So instead of me getting annoyed that this person is not doing what I want them to, I instead create a process or help create a process where this person is enabled, or this person has all the room and the processes to grow to that level. So instead of them doing their best to impress me or to try and win a favor, I would rather they do their best because it'll make them the best. And that's the only reason I ride certain people very hard. Like, out of the 15-20 people who I have a daily interaction with, maybe 3 I ride that hard because I really want them to grow and I really think that I can help them grow. So the intention is always, I think, been good. Process, not so much. So today when I was having that call in the morning, like for a good 10 minutes, I was like getting really agitated on call. And then after this person spoke to me for 5 minutes, clearly letting me know, I kept quiet. I didn't have a word to say. It was like very reality shattering kind of a moment. So yeah, the reason I wanted to have this conversation with you is because I think I wanted to internally reflect on this. And as you know, this is my one space where I speak about things that I like or I don't like. And secondly, also because I think I wanted to share this information with you that we can all read 15 lessons a day, but unless we don't go through something that personally makes us reflect on those lessons, we will never pick up those lessons. At least that's what I feel. I believe that you can give someone as much gyan and growth, or you can also learn as much gyan and growth, but unless you don't have something that happens in your life that makes you internally realize that, it's very difficult to change or grow or become better. So yeah, I've always wanted to have this mindset of ever growing, ever becoming better, ever perfection, ever perfecting myself, rather. And I'm glad that today this moment happened, and I'm one step closer to internalizing that whole Vikings Ragnar Lothbrok, guiding people's growth versus versus controlling their growth, if I may, or controlling their actions to the way that you'd like it to be. So yeah, I hope this 20-30 minutes that you have been with me now there is no like one dimensional topic I wanted to touch on this. I wanted to touch multiple things, that you can get a learning from anywhere, and that learning usually happens when the internal reflection happens, as opposed to outside, say, people shouting at you. And that if you want to help people grow, it's better to guide their growth as opposed to controlling their growth. If you want things to come out in a certain way, instead of forcing them to do certain things, you give them the guidelines and the understanding of why they need to do that, the process. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I really hope this has been a decent experience for you, and that the ambient noises which I told you in the beginning of your room to open up the windows and stuff. I hope tonight, instead of, second, I'm not trying to control you, but if you've ever told yourself, I don't want any kind of distractions before going to sleep, like my phone or anything else, maybe this ambient, focusing on the ambient or just listening to the ambience, just blending into the ambient noises, can do that. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I wish you a brilliant and a warm and a comfortable night ahead. This is Anway Pramanik signing off. Good night.